What a win for the San Francisco 49ers. What a freaking win for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's talk about it here on the show. Welcome into the program. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making our post-game reaction show a part of your evening. 49ers, 20-10 winners over the Atlanta Falcons here in Week 7. This football team, with all of these injuries, is 5-2 going into Week 8. Kyle Shanahan right now has to be the coach of the year. And I know that diehard Niner fans love Robert Saleh. He keeps coaching like this, with this skeleton crew on defense, with all of these injuries. This man can coach. He's a great football mind. He's molding clay right now, but unfortunately, he continues to coach like this. He might be getting a head coaching job after the 2025 season, because what he's doing this year with this defense, without Nick Bosa, without Fred Warner, is straight up spectacular. But obviously, we can worry about that after the year when it happens or if it comes around. But let's talk about this 2025 Niners team. No Nick Bosa. No Fred Warner. Injuries on offense all year. Niners get back George Kittle tonight. Didn't catch a pass, but boy, oh boy, was he impactful as a blocker in helping the Niners' run game get on track. And how about how this defense played? Bryce Huff, great game. Way to step up and show up. Way to be the number one pass rusher for this team. The Niners tonight with 2 sacks of Michael Pennix, both belonging to Bryce Huff. They hit him 6 times. And they provided pressure on Pennix all night long. 5 tackles, 1 TFL, 1 sack per our database for Bryce Huff. ESPN giving him credit for 2. Obviously, they'll sort that out after the game. Point here is Bryce Huff played a whale of a game and had one of the biggest plays of the ball game when he was able to use his speed rush, quick rip move, get to Michael Pennix, force the ball out. Big turnover forced by this Niners defense. How about how Tatum Bethune played tonight? His first NFL start in place of Fred Warner. And Tatum Bethune was all over the place. And this is why you subscribe to this show. Because when Tatum Bethune was drafted by the Niners, 7th round pick, 2024 draft out of Florida State, I had told everybody, he's not an elite athlete. The 40 speed isn't going to wow you. But Tatum Bethune, whose pops in Florida coached the likes of Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa and a bunch of other NFL players, you can tell this is a coach's son right here. What he lacks in elite athleticism, he makes up for it with football instincts, with reading and diagnosing skills, with a good feel for the game, which allows him to be in the right place at the right time. And Robert Saleh's usage of him was fantastic. Utilized him as a blitzer, as a pass rusher from time to time. And Tatum Bethune made some big hits in the run game, as San Francisco's defense just played a phenomenal game, all things considered, holding this Falcons team to only 10 points. They held Bijan Robinson to 14 carries for 40 yards. I just love teams that play hard, teams that have character, teams that always have belief, teams that empty the gas tank and let all the petroleum out. That's what the Niners defense did here tonight. This is a Falcons team that I know they got blanked earlier in the year by the Carolina Panthers, but they're coming off a win against the Buffalo Bills, in which the offense was unstoppable against Buffalo, in which their defense was great. Biggest regular season win for Atlanta in a couple of years. And the Niners controlled this entire game, dominated this game, and held this Falcons offense with Michael Pennix, who can sling it. Bijan Robinson, best linebacker or best running back in football right now. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, all these weapons. And the Niners hold them to 10 points and 1 touchdown, which came in the third quarter when the Niners had a special teams gaffe where the Falcons took over at the Niners 48, short field. Look at what the Niners did here in this ball game. 324 total yards, 4.9 yards per play, 9 of 15 on third down, as Mac Jones is now 4-1 as a starter in place of Brock Purdy. And they go 2 for 2 in the red zone. And really what this game comes down to, Niners defense stepping up. Bryce Huff was elite. Tatum Bethune was really good. How about the likes of Darrell Luter Jr. stepping in for Renardo Green and having good coverage downfield? But what was so key about this Niners victory is obviously the defensive performance and the coaching of Robert Saleh. Situationally, they were really good. The pass rush brought it. The run defense, which had been leaky without Nick Bosa, was good. They had given up a lot of explosive plays tonight. Very few explosive plays. That's what they did on defense. On offense, this team finally got the ground game going. And the Niners, going into this game, were one of the worst rushing teams in the National Football League. For a Kyle Shanahan offense to be this bad running the ball, dumbfounding, head-scratching. They were 32nd in yards per rush entering tonight at 3.1 per carry. They were 30th in rushing yards per game at 82.2. And on the show all week, I had talked about this Niners run game, how it has to get going because San Francisco needs more of a balanced offense. It's great when Mac Jones is averaging more than 300 passing yards per game, which is what he was averaging going into this game, but you need more balance to help him out with this porous offensive line. And so I talked all week, what is the issue with this Niners ground game? Is it Christian McCaffrey or is it this Niners offensive line? And I came to the conclusion, watching the tape, watching games, looking at the numbers, clearly it was the offensive line. McCaffrey's rushing yards before contact per Pro Football Reference going into this game. 1.85 yards in 2023 when he won Offensive Player of the Year. In 2025, 0.81. Per Sumer Sports, those were, let me see. Yeah, per Sumer Sports, the numbers that I just read you. Per Pro Football Reference, in 2023, McCaffrey was averaging 3.1 rushing yards before contact. In 2025, 1.9 entering Sunday Night Football. You know why that number is so low and why it's gone down? Yards before contact? It's because the interior of this Niners offensive line was getting pushed back, bullied, dominated, and throttled so consistently. But tonight, that was not the case. Tonight, this Niners offensive line was blocking really well. And it allowed Christian McCaffrey, Chip, we can show those numbers, to have his best game of the season, out-duel Bijan Robinson. They swapped jerseys after the game. And have his best game since 2023. And there was all these conversations. Is Christian McCaffrey washed? Is he cooked? I kept saying, no. It's the offensive line. Tonight, Christian McCaffrey looked awesome. And he's looked this way all year, which is backed up by all of his all-purpose yards. But tonight, the Niners offensive line finally blocked against a Falcons defense that came in as one of the best defenses in the NFL, number one in yardage given up, and across the board, a top 5, top 10 overall unit. But Christian McCaffrey tonight, 24 carries, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.4 per carry. Both the touchdowns. Great runs right up the middle. And so the Niners' ability to run the ball tonight was huge in them being able to control the game, let their defense rest, eat up clock, and have a balanced offense. Biggest sequence of this game was in the fourth quarter. Falcons are down 13-10. They're in field goal range. It's a 4th and 1. Atlanta can tie the game with the field goal, 13-13, with plenty of time left at that point, or they can go for it on a 4th and 1. Atlanta decides to go for it on the 4th and 1. And there were a lot of bodies toward the offense's right side for Michael Pennix as the left-handed thrower. And what a job by Chase Lucas to run into the flat, cover Drake London on the outbreaker, break up that pass, force the turnover on downs. Niners take over, and then they're able to go on a huge, clutch, game-deciding touchdown drive to win the game. 11 plays, 64 yards, 5:50 off the clock. Chase Lucas has worked himself to a point where he might be too good to keep off the field. And I'm a big fan of Upton Stout. He is a rookie, and we've seen him have some rookie moments so far this season. I think the Niners might have to play Chase Lucas because he makes this defense better. He had a big corner blitz at one point, got a big hit on Michael Pennix, and then the diagnosing and reading ability to know that London was the guy in the flat, to accelerate, break on the ball, break that pass up, turnover on downs. Momentum flips to the Niners. And then they're able to get the ball back and go 11 plays, 64 yards. That was huge. And a few plays after that, obviously it was a long drive for San Francisco. There was a massive, massive play. 3rd and 13 at the Atlanta 21. Keep in mind, it's only a 13-10 game. Niners kick a field goal. They only go up 16-10. Atlanta can win with a touchdown with plenty of time left. At this point, there's 2:46 left on the clock. Niners don't convert on this 3rd and 13. Atlanta gets the ball back with plenty of time. Christian McCaffrey, 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage, to the left of Mac Jones, runs a route where Ellis, the linebacker, had his eyes keyed into Mac Jones. He broke inside. I believe it was Kittle running in between the seam. That opened up McCaffrey down the number, and Mac Jones able to hit CMC for a gain of 17 yards. And then on the next play, McCaffrey, 4-yard touchdown where he got carried in by Connor Colby and Dominic Pooney. Team football, and you think about the Niners operation tonight, right? Kyle Shanahan should be the coach of the year because of how he has his teams prepared with all of these injuries, and mentally they're prepared for a game like going up against the Rams, a game like tonight, where emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you're like, we're without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. How are we going to win? How are we going to compete for the rest of the year? Kyle Shanahan has his team believing. He has his team prepared to play a game like this. And then in-game, play calling, managing the game, having Mac Jones go 4-1 as a backup, getting the run game going. That's on Shanahan. Robert Saleh, coaching the heck out of this Niners defense. Freaking awesome. And so it's a coaching win and it's an execution win because the players obviously deserve a lot of credit. And speaking of this Niners ground game, when George Kittle was on the field, this ground game was so much better compared to when he was off of it. His mere presence and blocking ability changed what this Niners ground game looks like. It looked like the ground attack that we saw in 2023. And a big thing, too, Jake Brendel hurt his hamstring, never want to root on an injury. Matt Hennessy comes in. He played pretty damn well at the center spot. And you wonder if the Niners are better off with Hennessy at center. More to get to here with this recap. Let's get to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Join the millions of users. Sign up today at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that code CLNS. And right now, when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 instantly in lineups. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. You can turn your takes into cash with Prize Picks. I know you all know ball, but I want you to show me with Prize Picks. Which players are going off? Which players are struggling? You can make those decisions and predictions and your projections with Prize Picks. They also have some new features. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Here's how the game works. We had said you get your picks in, choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. What we went with tonight, Christian McCaffrey, more than 54.5 receiving yards. He had 72. We did like Bijan Robinson more on the 80.5 rushing yards. He had 40. So not technically a win, but it made game day and game night a whole lot more fun. So here's the deal. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So in the aftermath of this Niners victory over the Atlanta Falcons, that's a win over a quality opponent in a gotta-have-it spot. The Niners moved to 5-2 on a day where the Rams also won. They beat the Jags. Rams also moved their record to 5-2. Buccaneers going to play the Lions on Monday Night Football. Buccaneers 5-1. And so this game, big implications for the playoffs, for the NFC West, and for the NFC standings. But it's also another big win to instill belief in the team that they can compete without two of their stars and leaders, and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, on the field before the game, in the box during the game, greeting the players at the locker room after the game. I just love the guy. But it also gives belief to John Lynch that if the Niners make a move, they can make a move to improve this team at pass rusher, at linebacker, maybe at corner, where if you make a move, you think that's a move that can really help out your ball club. Now, the Niners' defensive line tonight was really good. They provided a lot of pressure on Michael Pennix, either with sacks or quarterback hits or pressures, getting him on the ground, collapsing the pocket, moving the pocket. But that was an empty the gas tank type of performance for this Niners defensive line. You make a move, and it makes everybody's job a whole lot easier. I think the move for the Niners is to make a move at edge rusher. I don't think making a move at linebacker is completely necessary. Tatum Bethune is capable of playing the middle linebacker spot for Fred Warner. Robert Saleh was calling in the defensive plays to Bethune tonight. And he led. He played really well against the run. He was aggressive in providing pressure on Michael Pennix. And that's a player that you can continue to grow with. Curtis Robinson ended up getting some snaps when Bethune was a little bit banged up. D. Winters made some nice plays here and there. It's really the pass rush that I think you need to improve. The Bryce Huff trade, an absolute steal. He's got, 4 or 5 sacks already for San Francisco this year. But it's different when you're Batman as compared to Robin. When he's Robin, he can be spectacular. You get some more help along that defensive line, and it just helps out the rest of your defense. And you make a move, it helps your pass rush. That then helps out the second level of your defense. It helps out your secondary. And it's another chess piece for Robert Saleh to use to his advantage. And Robert Saleh, obviously Kyle Shanahan too, just all coaching their asses off this year. I mean, that's a high-level win to beat a team coming off their biggest regular season win in years in beating the Buffalo Bills. And they dominated the Buffalo Bills. And that's a young team with a lot of weapons. And the Niners shut those weapons down. Christian McCaffrey's usage. He accounted for 62% of their scrimmage yards tonight. He touched it on more than 30 of the more than 60 plays that the Niners ran. Falcons run game against the Bills, 6.8 yards per carry against the Bills, or against the Niners, 3.1 yards per carry. McCaffrey with more than 200 yards in this game. And the Niners stay atop the NFC West. Looks like the injuries are okay for the Niners coming out of this game. That's a rarity. Not seeing any injury news thus far. But I just can't say enough how much of a character win this is for the Niners. And this has to get fans pumped up. And you got to be proud of the football team. Bijan Robinson had some big carries tonight, 9 for 36, 4 yards per carry. The Niners run the ball like that with more balance. They can control games. They can dictate the flow, the physicality, and the complexion of games. They become hard to beat. And as I said, this is a young team. There's going to be some lumps. There's going to be some bumps and bruises, right? You get into the dance. You get these young players playoff experience. You get into the dance with this coaching staff. No team in the NFC wants to take on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm telling you. How about this? 49ers in their last 18 games, 4-1 with Mac Jones at quarterback, 4-9 with anybody else. Wild. No Bosa, no Warner, no Purdy, no Ayuk. A lot of starters out. A lot of people were picking Atlanta. I picked Atlanta because I wanted to motivate the Niners. Niners win 5-2. Should the Niners make a trade for a star player? Yes or no? I think they need to make a move because this team has shown time and time again they can compete in a wide open NFC. Competitive NFC, but a wide open NFC. Niners win 20-10 post-game reaction show right here on the 49ers Report. Let's fucking go.